You are now tuning in to the Top Shelf Edition, presented by Northern Superior Brewing Company. Northern Superior Brewing Company always brings forward top shelf product and customer satisfaction. Located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Northern Superior is available for local delivery or provide a friendly yet exciting atmosphere inside its tap room. Follow Northern Superior on Instagram or Facebook. You can also check out their website at northernsuperior.org. At Northern, we're superior. It's a Northern thing. Now how about some hockey chat? Let's get to the crew inside the Gem Studios, bringing you Gem and the Game Sports Show Hockey Edition, Top Shelf.
Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. This is the Top Shelf Edition, presented by Northern Superior Brewing Company. It is your host, David McCaig Jr., and I'm here sitting inside the Game Entertainment and Media Studios for this Top Shelf Edition. And while I am sitting here and recording, I am enjoying a nice 11 p.m. premium all-natural craft beer from Northern Superior Brewing Company. Make sure you check out Northern Superior Brewing Company on Facebook and Instagram, as well as their website, northernsuperior.org, where at Northern Superior, they are superior, and it's a Northern thing. As we get closer to hopefully having normality, a lot of big things coming, of course, for Northern Superior Brewing Company, but they are still open even through this lockdown. They have free local deliveries, and why not support local? You see it everywhere on commercials, on television, on your mobile device, on laptops, whatever you stream on. Support local, and why not support some delicious beer that's proudly brewed in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. That, of course, being a shout out to our listeners from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. If you are not listening from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, we still encourage you to support your local restaurants or brewing company, as well as when you do come to the Sault, though, make sure you do try Northern Superior, or if you see it inside your local LCBO, give it a shot. It is absolutely delicious. Now, David McCaig here, of course, Top Shelf. I am joined by Justin Heichel. Justin, my friend, how's it going?
I think you know the answer to that. It's I am not. We'll save that. We'll save how I'm doing.
Yeah, we're going to hold that, of course. I know there's a lot of listeners, especially from our local side of the show. Of course, a lot of our listeners that listen from outside the Sioux do know what teams that myself and Justin cheer for, or should I say team. And we're going to get to that in just a few moments. It's going to give you the agenda for tonight's show with Top Shelf. We are recording this on June the 2nd, 2021. It will be uploaded here tonight on June the 2nd, just in case you tune in the day after or the day after that. Either way, the second round of the NHL playoffs has begun. So we are going to jump into, at the beginning, we're going to do some local recap here. And what I mean by local, we are going to dive into the Algoma district, in particular in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, with some brief news. And then we're going to dive into some of the draft lottery results that are hot and right off the press, if you will, and who's the successful team that won the draft lottery. And then Justin and I are going to do a kind of brief little discussion about the second round, how it's been to this point, a little bit of a preview going into the second round that has already obviously begun, and there are games going on tonight as we are recording. And then to top off the show, yes, we will dive into that team that Justin and I cheer for, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, you take off our host hat, of course, we have a team that we do cheer for, and there's been a lot of reaction, especially when it comes from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm going to say flat out of the gate, Justin and I are not going to be sitting here to try to duplicate the great Steve Dangle, which, of course, is also a friend of the show. Steve Dangle is fantastic. You got to check out his videos on YouTube. And there's been also a lot of Leaf reaction in the media, but I think Justin Heichel and I will hopefully bring you it's kind of a different perspective. And maybe there'll be yelling, maybe there won't be. You'll just have to tune in to see. And I will remind listeners, this is a commercial-free edition of Top Shelf, but there will be product placement inside the show. A little warning. I don't have that on our podcast platform that you may be listening on, where you might get that little alert. However, we are going to be doing the product placement. And of course, this edition is presented by Northern Superior Brewing Company. I said at the beginning, please give it a follow. Justin, the beer's delicious there, man. Like, it doesn't matter if you have an 11 p.m. and it's 8 p.m. It doesn't matter. It just tastes good all around the clock. You got the 55, you got the light. I'm going to be honest with you. All the beer is delicious. but the Northern Superior Light that they have out is absolutely delicious, and it's good if you're watching the Pounds.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the classic. That's
yeah. The 55 or just the regular?
Well, I mean, just the regular. The 55 is good too, but I honestly I miss going to the tap room so much.
Yeah, and that
I miss it. There's nothing wrong with cans. Don't get me wrong, but there's just something about going in there and just, you know what I mean? It's like picking an apple off a tree.
and then freshly biting it, or maybe you should wash it before you bite it, but when you pick it off the tree, it's just pure natural. And a little fun news, of course, people may saw on my personal social media, myself and my girlfriend did get a dog, a nice Aussie Doodle, the new family of the Game Entertainment and Media, Aussie Doodle named Blaze. So despite all the kind of negative energy that the Toronto Maple Leafs brought into our household, it was all lightened up by, of course, a little puppy that is at this current part just 8 weeks old. So he's just a little guy. So if you want to check out and see some pictures of my dog, you can check out my social media page for that. And in terms of the Game Sports Show, there's been lots of additions that we have uploaded that you can check out. Just check out thegamesportshow.com, our new website. Check out the episode tab. Listen to the episode that you desire to listen to. In particular, our newest special edition upload, which was absolutely amazing, by the way, with Drew Shore, who's in the Carolina Hurricanes organization. Yes, the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that is still playing in the NHL playoffs, unlike a few other teams that people may cheer for that I know. But nonetheless, Justin, I'm not that just yet. We got to save that for the end. We are going to dive into the show. It's got to make sure we had our little introductions here. Diving into it, okay, I'm going to go into the local side of things. And as I mentioned, it's going to be around the Algoma district. If you want to shout out about your district, if you're outside of Algoma, just please message me or send an email through the website. The Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com is the direct email. Shoot an email and we will give promotion to your business or even to your organization to give it some news, because we talk everything here on, of course, the Game Sports Show. So, of course, the Sioux Thunderbirds have been busy. They did make a trade where they sent Cameron Duskevich to the Timmins Rock for a player development fee, short form PDF, more so like a cash kind of deal that was made in the NOJHL. Jamie Henderson has obviously been quite busy, if you will, since he's active, making a couple signings with local teams as local players, I should say, as well as players that he's familiar with the Sioux Greyhounds, a AAA kind of side here in Sault Ste. Marie. And also from the Sioux Thunderbirds, there is Tyler Savard, who was originally drafted by the Sioux Greyhounds in the 11th round, turned 20th overall, has been signed by the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So now, of course, when you get signed by the Greyhounds and have it signed, you're most likely going to be on that team when the puck drops on opening night. However, of course, now that he's owned, they do have the opportunity, because the Thunderbirds would own his rights if he ever had to go down for any kind of conditioning or just to go down in general. So he is, of course, now signed with the Greyhounds, so they do expect him to be a part of that team going forward. And if the name Savard does sound familiar, yes, it's his father, Mark Savard, of course, who, of course, has a long tenure in the OHL, and, of course, was a National Hockey League playmaking specialist, was Mark Savard. And, yes, he was a part of the 2013 Boston Bruins Game 7 comeback against Toronto. Sorry, Justin, I had to say that. I feel like there's nothing that can let us down. Now, also, the graduate from the Sioux Thunderbirds, Warner Young, has committed to NCAA Division III St. Mary's University of Minnesota, the Minnesota Cardinals, for the 2021-22 season. So the Sioux Thunderbirds getting some promotion with the players that they had this year, where they did win the COVID Cup. And, of course, they played the Blind River Beavers. A lot of the other teams, including the Rayside Balfour Canadiens, did not play this season in the NOJHL when puck was redropped, if you will, after the second, or who knows what official number of the lockdown that was. But it's great to see a lot of the success Thunderbirds have brought forward. If you look at also Kalisti, who's a Sioux Greyhounds product and who has been playing with the Hounds for the last couple of years, he played with Thunderbirds in 2017, 2018. He is ranked to go in the NHL draft in this upcoming draft. He is ranked 156th, and that's as per the SiouxThunderbirds.com website. Of course, they do a great job. Everyone a part of the organization with the Thunderbirds, we're getting everything out, as well as their social media, Sioux T-Bird Hockey. Make sure you check out them on Instagram. We, of course, here on the Game Sports Show, get a lot of love to the Sioux Eagles, the Blind River Beavers in terms of a local perspective, but we talk every league and every team just as equally. And, of course, Scott Nason with the ESPN 1400 edition, and, of course, a live broadcast of Sioux Eagle games, especially through Hockey TV, is fantastic. A lot of great news that's come with the Thunderbirds. They've been really busy. They have the Jarrett family involved. Trevor Daly's involved. Henderson's the GM of the team, and we will be having Jamie Henderson on the show inside of a local show, of course, this upcoming summer on the Canadian side of the Game Sports Show and on an upcoming editions of the ESPN 1400 edition with myself and Scott Nason. It kind of pays off when, especially Jamie Henderson was my assistant coach when I was with the Sioux Thunderbirds. And of course, he's had a lot of success with the Thunderbirds and a lot of success in the community with the minor hockey, or especially the AAA program is what I should be using. But going back to being the GM of the Thunderbirds, he is definitely going to be in the position to succeed, especially with the ownership takeover that was there. They did a great job with Trevor Zachary, Smeal, and of course, Daniel Lambert. Everyone did fantastic with the Sioux Thunderbirds, and big credit to Trevor Zachary in particular, how that connection is with Northern Superior Brewing Company. But now with the transition, the Thunderbirds are going to have a new people in office, and they've been very busy. So make sure you check them out. Now, puck drop for the OHL. Hopefully everything goes great with that this year. Fun fact, Cole Caulfield was honored is the word I was going to use. God, I should use proper English. The Greyhounds did own Cole Caulfield's rights. So if the Greyhounds were in the playoffs and playing right now, technically be close to where the Memorial Cup was going to be. It would have probably finished just a couple weeks ago if I look at it correctly. So Cole Caulfield would have been most likely playing for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds this year. And if they would have had Cole Caulfield and if they would have hosted this year, it would have been extremely interesting to see the team that Montreal maybe wouldn't have had on the ice in that first round. But we're not talking about that. I'm not pinpointing saying he's the reason, but it would have been interesting to see how this year would have played out if COVID wasn't a big factor. And speaking of how it's going to be a big factor, Justin, transitioning from the local side of sports, just a quick plug to Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Of course, owned and operated by Frank Ligori. Of course, their famous wing nights. They have delicious pizza. They have, especially through lockdown, they have takeout options. They do deliver. They have options for delivery. Support local Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sault Ste. Marie's best sports bar 5 years in a row. Best wings 2 years in a row. Justin, the draft now in the National Hockey League. I'm going to jump into that right now. It's a little bit of a different scenario. We find out today who the first overall pick was and who was that, Justin, and talk about what you think about this year's NHL entry draft.
I mean, I think the Sabres, I mean, we're not gonna drag that along. The Sabres got the first overall pick. I think that's awesome for the franchise. I mean, it's been a rough year for them. Like the Sabres fans have just had an absolute trash year. Their January, the fall started with some optimism, bringing in some players, looking like maybe something was going to happen, and the season ended with your captain not wanting to play there anymore. It's pretty rough for them. So now you're rebounding a little bit. Got the first overall pick. Potentially, Owen Power could be the guy. It's a pretty solid name.
Yeah,
if I'm gonna be honest, that's
yeah. See, and the big thing that I find with Owen Power, and you look at it from a perspective with the Buffalo Sabres, it feels like this is an opportunity for this team to maybe have, again, another opportunity to right the ship, right? When you look at when they drafted Jack, they feel that they missed out on McDavid. They've missed out on they feel like they've gotten the short end of the stick a good deal of times. Now, getting Owen Power is a stud of a defenseman. Luke Hughes, another stud of a defenseman. But there's one team, the Seattle Kraken, who got the second pick, who is in the most unique position, I feel, in this entry draft. Matthew Beniers is ranked to go second with Power first. Now, when you look at the Buffalo Sabres, Rasmus Dahlin, I am a fan of Dahlin. I think he is going to be a stud. And if you have a pairing of Dahlin and Power in the future, that is very powerful. if you will. But even with Rasmus Ristolainen there, if he even wants to stay in the future, Buffalo's D-core could be extremely impressive. But I also feel that this draft could be an opportunity for the Sabres to hit a slam dunk with potential late picks if they can make moves on some players. Maybe even try to build for the future and try to get picks in next year's and the years after draft when you got the Shane Wright and Connor Bedard picks going on, and then you can really turn around a franchise. Obviously, the Sabres don't want to be a bad hockey team anymore going forward, but I feel like fans are going to have to take it that they are going to be retooling again, but they have the chance of some deep drafts coming up to really make a splash. And Justin, with Owen Power, I think he is going to go first. He obviously is the number one pick, and everyone believes he is. But there must be a chance that maybe they consider Matthew Beniers, especially if they're going to move Jack Eichel. Beniers can play both center and wing. Of course, this is a player that, could be will be obviously a top centerman in your organization. You move out Eichel, if Sam Reinhart wants out and players want out, you can gain some high picks in this entry draft, the next couple drafts to really build around. And since you already have Dahlin to build around, it would be an asset to bring Power in because you can either put them together or two separate pairings. But is there any kind of opportunity that you think, Justin, that Beniers could be going to Buffalo instead of Owen Power?
In my head, I think it's smart for Buffalo now to, if you are going to go ahead and go forward and you're going to trade, your Jack Eichels and guys like that, if you're going to try to get a king's ransom for those guys, I think it's safe to start building from your D out in terms of the draft. You're not going to look for a goalie in the first round and try to develop them. That's not something you're going to do. You're going to have a couple, David Riddicks of the world kind of rolling through the next couple years while you figure this out.
Yeah.
But I think getting these young defensemen, finding quality other, pairing defensemen for these guys to play with, like you said, like Dahlin, finally getting them another stud defenseman to play with them. I don't know. I think that Buffalo hasn't shown that they can draft and develop offensive players, but a fail-safe would almost be to try to build from the defense out. I mean, any coach that comes in can seemingly fix talented defensemen.
Yeah.
Whereas these centers kind of, or any offensive player for that matter. I mean, look at the case of Galchenyuk. He went through a couple rough situations, and the guy's mental headspace is absolutely annihilated.
And
so
you end up in Buffalo. Like I feel, like I said, I'm trying to create maybe more so comments and yelling at the speakers while I'm talking. But I said that Owen Power is consensus one. So did you. And at the end of the day, that is a smart way to go. Building from the back end out, that can bring success, and they can make a very big trade with Eichel. Obviously, the front runners are the Kings and Rangers for that trade. I've heard rumors from particular private experts, if you will, that are in the media world in both the States and Canada, where maybe Seattle says screw making a pick this year and trades their second pick. If now this is just hot off the press too, that maybe the Buffalo Sabres move Eichel to Seattle, and I think that's absolutely bonkers. I don't think that makes any sense. I really feel like Seattle's excited to make their first ever pick, and I think that's a big part and a big historic moment in their organization, so I can't see that being a thing. But it's going to be interesting this offseason because of the flat line in the cap. Buffalo is that team that has players saying everyone's available to the exception of possibly, I guess you should say, that number one overall pick, and Rasmus Dahlin would probably be the two players that are going to be untouchable in this scenario. you can look at other players in their organization, like Ukkonen and guys that they have, but I feel like they would move and they want to start from scratch. And to say Seattle will make a splash, I'm sure they will, a lot like Vegas did, right, with Brandon Carlson and the moves that they did, Marcia So, and trying to make moves with teams they don't pick a specific player. I'm sure Seattle has learned, and their social media page is absolute fire right now. They put a lot of chirps towards Toronto fans that they took full advantage of when Toronto got eliminated, saying that the ship is open if they wanted to jump ship. So, the Seattle Kraken are doing a very good job, just like how Carolina is. And I feel Seattle's in a position that's a little bit different than Vegas is. I don't think they're going to have the same success that Vegas did, but here we are saying how Vegas wasn't going to be strong, and look what they're doing, right? So, can't really predict that, but going back to with Buffalo and winning this draft, they put themselves in a good position. And just to revamp, number 1 is Buffalo, as I mentioned. Seattle Kraken is 2. The Anaheim Ducks are 3. New Jersey Devils are 4. The Columbus Blue Jackets are 5. And to round out the top 10 is Detroit, San Jose, LA, Vancouver, and the Ottawa Senators. And yes, the Arizona Coyotes had to forfeit their first round pick this season. And the draft goes down from there. And no, Toronto does not have any picks in the first round. They moved it to Columbus. In this case, I had a few Toronto fans ask me, well, maybe they'll have a good pick this round. I had to remind them that maybe they should turn their fucking brain on and understand that they moved that for Nick Foligno. So the Columbus Blue Jackets have, from what I see in the first round, I see that they have 3 in the first round from what I have been notified and looking at here on paper. Yes, as I have that up, it's a lot of picks in that first round. They have a lot of picks in upcoming drafts. I'm sure they're going to be a team that's going to be quite busy on the retooling front as well. But Justin,
John Davidson back too. It's a big thing there.
It is, and you have the Rangers, who were winners of last year's lottery, but now in the middle of the pack, if you will, for this one. And the Montreal Canadiens are picking 17th in their draft. Pretty good pick, and there'll be some good players there. But anyone who picks from either, I would say, from 10 to 32 have a chance to really have a steal of a pick, because it's pretty open-ended, I feel like, from there. Maybe that's a little bit too big of a stretch, but even after 10, if it's from 12, because 11's being skipped from Arizona, 12 to 32, that would be a pretty open-ended picks in those late rounds. We'll see what happens. But Justin, I've always had eyes on goaltenders in drafts. Askarov was one that I'm a fan of. I am a big fan of Jesper Wallstedt. The guy is going to be a franchise goaltender. He reminds me exactly of Henrik Lundqvist, and I know the Wings are slated and favorites to get him at 6. And how fitting would that be for the Wings to get a Swedish goaltender, even though they really don't need goaltending at the current point, but they do have a lot of prospects coming up, so it might be the perfect time for the Wings to draft a goaltender. And I know we have a lot of Wing fans on the show, so I wanted to kind of stir the pot with that a little bit. Justin, any kind of final reaction with the NHL entry draft? Are you excited for it? Do you think it's going to be busy, or do you think it's going to be more of a just make drafts and a quiet day?
It's going to be tricky. I mean, the teams with cap room, I think, are going to be busy, partially in accommodating teams with no cap room and collecting picks. I mean, like the teams like the Sabres, the Red Wings of the world, probably aren't competing again next year. So, I mean, they can afford to take on a little extra salary to take on some of these teams' draft picks again to facilitate deals and stuff like that, much like we saw at the trade deadline. But just to touch on your Red Wings thought there, I this kind of plays back into our conversation with the Sabres earlier. I really do think the Red Wings are a big candidate for Jack Eichel. Yeah. Given the Red Wings' plethora of picks and plethora of salary cap, they can afford to take him on. And, I mean, that's a real good carrot to dangle in front of Buffalo. Maybe they can get their center and defenseman all in one shot.
Yep, and they have the opportunity where the Wings have already robbed the Washington Capitals this year with Verana and Panic and picks. So they have a good decent amount of picks in there, and even if they wanted to look at doing very risky to trade next year's first round pick and the year after that, But if you wanted to move this year's first, this might be the year for the Red Wings where you move a first, throw in a couple prospects in there, and you might be able to get the job done to get Jack Eichel over there. That would just make the the Atlantic a bit interesting, even though the divisional rivals. It hasn't been strange that divisional rivals have made the deal if it's the right price. Definitely the Wings are probably a team that should be in there. Obviously, as I mentioned, I believe the front runners would be the Rangers and the Kings, but cap is a big thing, and you just had mentioned a great point. The Wings have a genius at the wheel in Steve Yzerman, probably, and no offense to a lot of other GMs in the league that are geniuses, but Steve Yzerman, in my opinion, is the best GM in hockey. Sorry to say to Boston fans or Joe Sakic or a lot of GMs, as I mentioned, but just the mind of Yzerman, he is going to right that ship quickly with the Red Wings, and it's going to be certainly interesting. The draft will be busy still, I believe, but I think Seattle is going to do a lot of moves like Vegas did. It's going to be interesting. Don't pick this player, I'll give you a third round pick. Pick this player, I'll give you a second round pick, right? And a lot of teams like that are not going to want specific players taken. Toronto, I'm sure that they don't want Justin Hall getting taken. I know there's a lot of rumors that it might be a Travis Dermott or something going for, if it is from a Toronto end. If you look at Montreal, they have some room there because of the youth that they have. The Winnipeg Jets could be a team that they can protect a lot of their forwards. The D that they don't have a lot of, they might expose some of their defensemen. In terms of Canadian teams, I feel like Toronto is the team that is a little bit tough to see who they can protect. And also, I would maybe be fair to say that the Edmonton Oilers are going to try to dangle some players, but I think Toronto, on a Canadian perspective, is in tough when it comes from on the Canada side. Now, Justin, I want to talk about the second round of the playoffs quick. Of course, I know it's damaging, especially if you are a Toronto fan. But of course, and as we are currently sitting here and doing this recording, Montreal is up on Winnipeg 3-1 by the end of the first period here. So we are
4-1.
It's 4-1. Sorry. So it's certainly we are going to get into Toronto, as I mentioned to listeners. So that's why I want to mention that. But we still have the second rounds to discuss here, and you have Montreal, Winnipeg, you have Vegas, Colorado, you have Boston Islanders, Tampa Bay, Carolina, in the Elite Eights, if you will. And, of course, the Canadian for the North Division is to start underway tonight. Colorado is currently leading at this time 1-0. By the time you hear this recording, they might be up on the series 2-0 or tied 1-1. If you're listening tomorrow or the next day, you may have seen Boston and the Islanders and Carolina and Tampa play. But nonetheless, these are the 8 teams that are going forward. And Tampa Bay obviously having a stranglehold at this current point in the series, up 2-0 at the time of this recording. Very interesting hockey going around. The series that I thought I was going to love the most, Vegas and Colorado. Depending on what happens in the future games, Colorado's looking really scary. Tampa Bay is looking like Tampa Bay. We didn't have the chance, Justin, to do a show for the first rounds, and I'm kind of happy that we didn't, because my predictions would have been out the fucking window. I feel like obviously everyone had Toronto picked in that first round. I would say maybe 80%, and then 10% of Leaf fans that maybe have a brain in their head didn't believe were right, and the other 10% picked Montreal, and they're all Montreal fans. So you even Montreal fans are picking the Leafs. My neighbor also here is a Montreal fan, and he had the belief that Toronto was winning. So the underdog won in that series, and I don't know if I can see underdogs winning this upcoming series. The only kind of series I could see that happening in is maybe Montreal, Winnipeg, but also Boston, the Islanders. If I had to pick those two series, as the Islanders are the underdogs and Montreal are the underdogs. But Tampa Bay and Colorado, Justin, those are the two teams in my head that we've talked about since day one, about getting there. And also, even when the playoffs have started, while we were talking back and forth on off-air time, if you will, that these are the two teams that are the favorites, and they're showing it right now.
Well, I mean, Colorado's disgusting. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, you watch them play, and they're a well-oiled machine. They're everything you want your favorite team to be and more. And then on the more even slap in the face end of that is that Nathan McKinnon makes $6.5 million. It's all these guys are, and he came out in the media today and said he'd take another low end contract just so he can keep playing with the guys he's playing with. Yeah, that's kind of, and he's not even the captain of the team.
Gabe Landeskog, man, and that, you know what, Nate McKinnon, 6.325. I don't have cap friendly up right now, but there's a guy, and he said this, as you just alluded to. That's heart. Somebody who's there to win. Somebody who takes a pay cut to win for his team. And as you mentioned, his next contract, taking a pay cut so they can win. Crosby did it for Pittsburgh. 8.7 doesn't seem like a little bit of money, but for somebody of Sidney Caliber, wow, that's a new name. Sidney Crosby's caliber, he did win a lot, 3 cups. So obviously,
I mean, in fairness, those guys both have a big time Tim Hortons deal, so that's probably helps them out a little bit. Take a couple extra Timbits here and there.
I'm sure, and that's where when I look at Colorado, I'm a fan of Nazem Kadri, and it's unfortunate what he did. Am I surprised we didn't? No. All Toronto fans wouldn't be. The guy plays in the playoffs. He's prone to get at least a 5-game suspension. But obviously this was an 8-game suspension.
Yeah, I mean, who are we to chirp though? You know what I mean? Same old Kadri, same old Leafs.
Yep. And Kadri, I'll be honest, I miss him in the blue and white, but the move, if you look at Kerfoot, the guy was impactful, but I said we're going to get to Leafs in a little bit. The Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning are the two teams that I see duking it out to the end, especially the way that Tampa Bay is handling Carolina right now. Not that they're absolutely embarrassed, I'm not saying that, but the way that the games are being played, if you really watch those games, I did peek at it. Right now, I'll be honest, I'm obviously, with running a sports show and a media company, I have to do my end and have my knowledge about what's going on and keeping up in the world of hockey and just sports in general. But I have made a pact to myself that I am not going to watch at any of the games. I kind of am a little bit upset about what happened to Toronto. It's just upsetting. But there's one game that I would have a hard time, or 2 series that I would have a hard time keeping the TV off for, and that's Vegas, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Carolina. And very, very exciting. As I mentioned, Montreal leading Winnipeg, as per NHL.com, it says a 3-1. But you have, at this current time, and it's 8:26 p.m. on June the 2nd while we're recording, games are coming up tonight for Vegas, Colorado, games tomorrow, games on the 4th. They have a massive amount of talent in Tampa Bay. And all those players, Justin, alluding to the main point, took pay cuts to stay there. And you know what? Teams that do that really want to stay. I don't care about the states where there's less taxes. I don't care about the nonsense about, I want to tan in between practice and games. That's all fine and dandy. But when you have the right core together that Colorado has, that Tampa has, heck, let's give credit where it's due, where we really don't want to, but Boston, okay, they when you have a core of guys that buy in and are there to win, those are the guys that are going to have success. And Tampa Bay and Colorado, Justin, are just looking unbeatable. I'm sorry. In Tampa Bay, still give them
on a different level.
Yeah, man. And I like look at it from. I don't even think any team from the North Division that proceeds, or if you look at Boston, the Islanders, whoever proceeds from that, I can't see teams keeping up with one of those 2 teams. And yes, who knows? Vegas could win. Carolina could win. Anything could happen. Okay, but I can't see it, and I can't see the other teams keeping up with those 2 teams. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, and it's probably unfortunate to say, but to say that Tampa Bay is not a favorite to win this year again, you'd be crazy.
I mean, but no, they weren't a favorite because no one saw them play with Kucherov all season.
Mm-hmm, that's true, and I know I'm not Colorado's sick, but it's just that feeling. Right, there's that feeling that just Tampa Bay has it, and Nathan McKinnon, it'd be special to see him lift it this year, and I think that's my prediction going forward. We are going to have a round 3 and a round 4 preview. As I mentioned, apologize we didn't get a round 1 preview. I'm sorry for the listeners, but I'm not sorry for us because I'm happy we didn't look like fucking idiots in any of those series.
Better for mental health.
Yeah, and again, the second round, Justin, I can really give you the opportunity. Out of the second round series that are going on, which one's your favorite that you're keeping an eye out for?
Well, I mean, it's kind of. I was looking forward to this Winnipeg Montreal one, but this first period was a little different than I thought it was going to be. So I'm gonna stick with the Colorado and Vegas series. I mean I thought Vegas was really good, but watching Colorado dismantle them the other night was also really fun to watch.
Oh,
Like
it's
just
exciting.
watching Colorado work it's fascinating. Well, it's almost identical in that Tampa series. I mean, like the Carolina at home, their rink has been absolutely bonkers, and Tampa went in there and took both games.
And the
So,
freaking
like I don't. It's crazy, and I mean, they're playing at a different level. And to be honest, I don't think once whoever comes out of the Boston or Islanders series has a chance.
yeah.
Like they're just gonna kick the shit out of each other, and then whoever comes out is gonna just get scored on, and for 4 games until it's over.
And everyone forgot about number 86, eh? Everyone forgot about him on Tampa. And Nathan McKinnon is on a different fucking level, and we've already touched on that. Definitely going to be interesting coming down the stretch for the second rounds of the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Now, Justin, we have a topic to get to, but 2 quick things I want to mention. Another product placement here. Make sure you check out Living Sisu. That's Living SISU. Check out through the Game Sports Show website. Click the Living Sisu logo. It's 3rd row, 2nd from the left on the website. It goes right to their website from our website, livingsisu.com. Fantastic products there. And of course, thank you to all of our sponsors here with the Game Sports Show, particularly with our updated site. I got to give another shout out to North Shore Sports and Auto. The CDU for the Game Entertainment Media is on the water. Hopefully that COVID normality comes to play so we can have our beach giveaways and kind of our giveaways that we plan to do. And a lot of things this year we've been unfortunately unable to really announce and do. But we do have a lot of big things coming up for the brand and company and North Shore Sports and Auto, being a part of that from a sponsorship end, but also with the CDU. Yes, we'll be doing a giveaway that is brought to you by North Shore Sports and Auto, of course, but yes, by our CDU. Never thought I'd ever be saying that. Interesting stuff. Lots of great things on our website to check out. And again, Northern Superior Brewing Company. This beer is so fucking delicious. Like I literally just can't. Proudly brewed in Sault Ste. Marie by Northern Superior Brewing Company, 11 p.m. is a traditional German black lager that will delight your taste buds with notes of coffee and chocolate and surprisingly easy drinking beer enjoyed by the true craft beer enthusiast for its distinctive character and full-bodied flavor. Yes, I read that off the can, and I can't believe I read that all in one breath. Northern Superior Brewing Company, it's a northern thing. Now, Justin, the long-awaited topic that we were going to jump into, 35-ish minutes into the broadcast, and this is a show that we typically air. It's under an hour. We typically aim for 45 minutes. We're going to keep it at that as best as we can because I think there's only so much that we can say. Now, how I'm going to do this, Justin, is give you the floor for a second and to make a decision on that floor. That decision is, do you want to have back and forth discussion, or do you want to have the floor to say your opinion? Then I have the floor to say my opinion, and we both have to keep it under 5 minutes.
Let's just go back and forth.
All right, so I'm going to let you start us off.
See, like, I'm nowhere near as fired up about this as I think everyone thought I'm or expects me to be.
Yeah.
It's like social media was a bad place yesterday, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'll tell you that. And I mean, like, let's get this out in the air right now. Like, I was absolutely emotionally gutted after that on Monday. Like, that's, but I had that feeling Saturday, you know, by the time the game ended Saturday, it felt like it was over then. And I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but you know, you've been down this road enough times. You know these players just as well as everyone else knows these players. And you saw it. I felt awful for Jack Campbell because he had no goal support. Any person that comes out and says that Jack Campbell lost the series for the Leafs can go fuck themselves.
Yep. Yep, he
Like,
did fucking
like
great.
personally, I'd like to boot stomp anyone that has anything to say about his play. Did he let in a couple shit goals? Yeah, but guess what? Guess what goals are the only goals that go in the playoffs? The shitty ones. There was a couple. There was one or two boneheaded ones. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, I don't. You can't hold that all on him. If Carey Price let in a bad goal, were they going to say it was Carey Price's fault they lost the game? No, they weren't. So I don't know. It's the trolls out there are going a little hard. They're having some fun and whatever. I mean, but I think we're going to come back with the majority of this group next year. I really do. I think Spets is coming back for sure.
I think he should.
Simmons, I don't know. Jumbo looked like he was going to retire in the end of season interviews there today. So I don't know. There's some mixed emotions, but I'm nowhere near as upset as everyone expects me to be. It's just because this is what you expect to happen now. You know, the 3-1, the 4, any kind of something to one lead isn't good for us. It's just not a good number.
See, and that's the thing is, and you bring up points about Jack Campbell, and there was comments going around saying that how he didn't perform and how Freddie would have did better. I've seen those that they should have put Freddie in for Game 7 for loyalty. That's maybe the only one that I kind of looked at and said, maybe that's a true point, but it's not. You have Jack that did fantastic this year. Vezina numbers this year for the Leafs. The guy is a fan favorite, even when there's no fans in that rink. He's emotional about playing. He's a teammate guy. He was the reason that even won 7 games for a lot of those games. He didn't have a lot of goal support at all, obviously, and especially in the last 3 games. He did not just he didn't get out-dueled by Price, okay? The Montreal defense and forward stepped up and outplayed Toronto's core guys and took it to them and battled back and showed more heart, and Campbell can only stop so many pucks. As you mentioned, he could have stopped a few goals. He could have stopped a few shots that went in. But there's also a couple deflections that went in on Price that Toronto battled back to tie it 3-3 in that game where Muzzin got to, that maybe Price should have had a stick down. There's a lot of goals that went in on both goalies in the series that could have went either way. Jack, there's a guy that really battled this year, and it's not his fault that they lost those games. And Jack Campbell if he would have, and I'm quoting Steve Dangle here, if Jack Campbell was in net for those games against the Boston Bruins in the last couple Game 7s, even the one in 2013, if you want to go that far back, if that's a Jack Campbell that was in net for both those games, sorry Reimer, you played solid those playoffs, but in 2013. But even Freddie, no offense, love the loyalty, but he didn't. There's a couple Game 7s where Freddie was really shaky. If you have the Campbell that played in this series in those games, Toronto would have won 2 of those Game 7s. I promise you that. They would have won. They would have won those Game 7s. They would have moved on to the second round. As well as, I feel that once you let Montreal back in the series when it was 3-2 on the giveaway from Galchenyuk, what you got to feel for Galchenyuk, he forgot he must have been playing for Toronto maybe at the time. Who knows what his reason was, called for the puck realistically, and joking aside. That's hard for him, and I'm sure he didn't sleep at all that night. And then all the stuff that goes on from there, Justin, and we're going back and forth here as we promised, but there's a lot that we're trying to get into here. But with Toronto, there's a routine, and I couldn't agree with you more. When they lost Game 6, that's where my heart sunk into where I was staring at my television.
You knew.
Yeah, you can ask my girlfriend. My puppy was actually staying with me I didn't really let him on the couch, trying to get that habit out of him, but he was beside me on the couch and he didn't leave my side. And he likes being in his crate in the room, sleeping already in the first couple nights. It's awesome. But he didn't leave my side on that first night. And it's like he knew that I was sad. I didn't cry. People were asking if I cried. I didn't cry. I probably could have if I tried. Not after Game 6. Game 7 was where I got those texts. But, sitting down, like you said, I knew. That's in Game 6, all the chances that they had and they didn't bury, it doesn't matter. Despite that they should have won that game, it doesn't matter. They didn't win it. The one goal went in that needed to go in, and Montreal forced the Game 7, and that's where I was staring at my television in disbelief that we got to where we were, and the team that was riding momentum going into Game 7 was Montreal. And then, of course, Muzzin goes out, but you know what? Even with Muzzin and Tavares out, losing some key guys, Tavares Game 1 and Muzzin Game 6, you still have a situation where you have a team that was supposed to be deep, proved that they were deep, and they can battle through adversity. Price wasn't a super god. He was very good.
It was good. I mean, you can't. I mean, Matthews had like 5 shots a game on him. Like, he was getting like decent shots. It's just he had people's number, and that's the he was playing lights out. There wasn't a lot of quality chances that hit him. There's just something the way those guys play for him. Like, Montreal was a meh team all season. And maybe that's just where those guys are just going through the motions and will play in the playoffs. And that's a hard. I don't know. I haven't. I preach you have to go through adversity thing and to figure it out. But I really thought this year was okay, we've figured it out. We've been let down enough times, and the vibe in the room felt great. Like, every time you watch these guys in interviews, you felt like they were all best friends. And like, this is going to sound horrid, but maybe that's what they needed. They needed to have Jumbo come in and be the father figure in the locker room and tell them, this is my last season, guys. We're going to do this. And they had to let him down. They had to fuck him over. Like sometimes in those video games where you have the weird twist where you got to kill your partner or something, like maybe that's what happened here. Maybe they had to just end that guy's, just sadly end his career and send him off into the sunset to ride his lawnmower somewhere else without a Stanley Cup. And now these guys got to live with that. I mean, they've done it to Marlowe. They've done it to Thornton. So maybe that's what you need. I don't know. I'm at a loss in terms of what they should do. I think these guys will figure it out. I mean, like, it's a shitty spot because I want to have a knee-jerk reaction and like say that Mitch Marner fucked everyone over and so burn him to the ground because I think quote unquote me on Saturday night was once Mitch Marner started crying was, don't ask for an $11 million contract if you can't handle what comes with an $11 million contract. Just sitting there crying. And when you sit there and think about that afterwards, like, number one, that's like work, Justin, just saying, go fuck yourself, bro. But like, the guy, like, it was emotion. Like, he knew it was on his shoulders. He's got that contract on his shoulders. And you got to bet on these guys. That's why they paid him. I mean, I don't think Mario Lemieux didn't win a cup until his 8th season. Ovechkin didn't win a cup until the year after Vegas was in the league. And to be honest, I think the year Vegas came in the league, they tried to trade for Ovechkin.
That's who Colorado, my God, that's who Washington beat in the Cup Finals. Their first year was Vegas.
Yeah.
And,
so,
one thing I will say is the Mitch Marner was not noticeable this series. I'll flat out say it. And a lot of people are probably thinking about turning us off right now, or we're expecting us to yell. But I hope they don't, because honestly, this is us yelling, because Justin and I and Leaf fans are so fed up, so disappointed. We're used to it, and it's just a continuous repeat. If there's history that needs to be broken, it's Toronto that does it. And there were stats that you can read online. I'm not going to read them to you. You can find them that were broken in the series about team coming back and losing 2 consecutive games after coming back. When there's a record to be broken, Toronto does. Now, Toronto passed the New York Rangers, the longest drought in NHL history for a Stanley Cup. Yes, it hurts. Justin, myself, and I think I speak of all Leaf fans, we are defeated. We are upset. We are disgruntled. People have cried. People have lost sleep. I did only sleep 2 hours the night that they lost. And that was game 6 and 7, both nights. I got 4 hours sleep combined because like you said, Justin, I knew when game 6, I was confident going to game 7. You try to believe is the key word I always use, but the defeat. It really started to settle in, that defeat, that PTSD, if you will, if you want to go with that drastic of a point. There always seemed to disappoint, and there's literally no excuse anymore. Steve Dangle's videos were fantastic. I want to quote everything that Steve said because he had, from the game 6 and 7 videos, all the points that he had were so true, and that's exactly what I was feeling. And that's how I looked.
That watch a game with Dangle feature was pretty solid too.
Solid. And he had so many plans for other ones. And honestly, this was I bring up points here with Mitch Marner. He wasn't noticeable. And you know what, Justin? We learned something yesterday about Mitch Marner. And I wasn't going to bring it up because, we're not going to chirp it because it is what it is now and it's over with. But Mitch Marner, apparently, in terms of some leaks on social media, despite how true it is, based on my sources that I've tried to look into, that it is true. But I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, that Mitch Marner booked a tee time to be on a golf course. This is just less than 48 hours after cleaning out his locker room. And apparently the tee time was booked essentially the next day after losing Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens. So that was yesterday. That he booked it. So that'd be June 1st that he booked it. And honestly, Justin, I remember when I played hockey.
I mean, like, in one sense, like, I understand why everyone's annoyed by it or mad by it.
Yeah.
But, like, what the fuck? Yeah, what else are you supposed to do? I mean, like, he's the only. I feel bad for Mitch in the sense that we saw how. I mean, Tavares got his brain scrambled. Like, to the point where everyone, like, I almost threw up. I was so sick watching that thing. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like, watching he's trying to fight to get up while he's still unconscious. Like, that wasn't a good look. It wasn't a great image. It didn't sit well with me. And, like, and the Toronto Sun just shits all over him. Which, okay, shame on me for going to the Toronto Sun and expecting there to be some journalistic integrity there when, I'm not going any further into that. But, and now Marner lives in Southern Ontario. So all summer, anytime the Toronto Sun needs to sell a couple copies, he's going to be the hit piece. Austin Matthews gets to fly away and go back to Arizona and shut her down. Write all the hit pieces you want. He said it in his post-game interviews today. Like, yeah, whatever, make up your stories. Like, the guy's made of fucking Teflon. He doesn't care. Nothing's going to hit him. Marner's got to sit there. His mom's got to go and read the newspaper. He's got to go and buy a bag of apples at the Metro, down the street and see fucking doesn't matter that he deleted social media. He's still Mitch Marner. People know who he is. Like, that's going to be the tough part to overcome and not have any sort of shit attitude towards the fans, because you'd have to think that at some point that would settle into your brain a little bit. Like, why the fuck am I busting my balls for these people out here when all I do is get shit all over in the media?
And the thing is that they mentioned the big thing with this tea time, if you will. My whole point was, I was going to say with it was that when I played hockey, that if I ever lost and I've lost some big games in my life, and not to the gravity of professional players, but I went into the off season and wanted nothing else more but to work harder and be better and try to win. And the reason why I was kind of upset about Mitch making this decision right away and openly having his name on a golf course tee is just the timing of it all, where
it's a bad look.
It is. That's sure. It. I give him benefit of the doubt because obviously he's in the off season. Maybe he wants to get his mind off it, right? There's a lot of things that I get, but the reason why I bring up my example with it was because you see a scenario that you should be hitting the ice right away and trying to get better. But yeah, you still need to rest and your body needs to heal. Like I know that from an athletic perspective as well. But it's just the look that made me really upset about it. Why Mitch did that. But again, it's a free world. He's able to do what he wants. But essentially, you have Leaf fans that are still upset, gutted. And just
and there's going to be trolls too, looking to get everyone, you know what I mean, all riled up again.
This is different than any other time that they've lost. I swear to God, this is a lot different. Fans are upset, but now fans are over it. They're fed up. The Leafs Nation has hit the fed up button. This is it.
Well, you know what? Like everyone, I'm not going anywhere as a fan. So does it suck? Yeah. Does it feel bad? Yeah. But it's got to feel as emotionally gutted as I was by it. I couldn't imagine what it felt like to be the guys that cared in that locker room.
You know what sucks? To think about it? The Atlantic Division, right? We expect hockey normality next year, given anything doesn't happen. I would love to see another North Division. That was very fun this year to see. But Tampa Bay, Boston, Florida, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa's improving. They're going to be a very good team in a couple years.
Good. Harden the fuck up.
Yeah, that division is going to be the toughest division in hockey next year. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's my early prediction.
Yeah, if you want to go, you can go out and play on the West Coast in the seniors and garbage league out there.
See, the thing is, it's good. Is it a good thing to play in a division that tough? Yes and no, because if you lose, you lose. But it is not going to get easier for the Toronto Maple Leafs going forward. And obviously, everyone feels like this was the year they had the chance to get in past that first round, second round, and then getting in final rounds where this could have been the year they could have snuck in and did it. But again, as we've heard today being June the 2nd, that the Leafs core is planned to stay in place. We don't know what's going to happen. This hockey season's not done. Ownership isn't happy, obviously, what happened. Fans aren't happy. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting offseason. You know, a lot of UFAs and Zach Hyman, Simmons, Spencer, Thornton, Freddie Anderson as well. And honestly, if I had to say anything, Hyman and Freddie, I would like both of them back. Freddie on a little bit of a deal, but I don't know if he will, especially by not playing. Maybe he is a little upset. I still wouldn't have played Freddie in the 7th game. I understand why people might look at it from a loyalty end, but Jack was perfect. I do hope that Freddie comes back on a 1 year, but again, he's getting to a stage in his career where you have to look out for your future. So he may not want that short term. And again, if Freddie does come back, he wouldn't sign until after the expansion draft, because if he does sign before the expansion draft, Toronto can only protect one goalie. And I guarantee you, if Freddie or Jack resigned and one of them had to be exposed in the draft, Seattle would take one of those two guys. And let me tell you, hopefully they don't take Jack, because that contract's great in the season that he had. Hopefully he can build on it. So going back, obviously Hyman was a workhorse all year for Toronto. He's one of my favorite Leafs, and I would expect he might want a little bit of a raise, but that's where I hope a lot of these guys look at it from the perspective of trying to build a winner. And I know some players are going to have to be changed in this pieces of Toronto. Obviously, Spence as a player that people want back. I forgot that somebody else I'd like to mention in the Hyman-Freddie conversation where we said who I want back. Spence is the other one I would like back as well. I feel like he was a great fit.
I'd take Galchenyuk back in a heartbeat too, to be honest. I don't think that project is done.
Oh, good point. I forgot about Galchenyuk. Thank you very much. And
I thought him and Nylander played awesome together.
Yep, and honestly, if Tavares back, Nylander, Tavares, and Galchenyuk, that'd be pretty great. Kerfoot had a great playoff. I had a lot of doubt that maybe Kerfoot, but don't forget he is only making $3.5 million. There's some contracts that you can move, like Engvall's. It's Dermott will probably be the guy that gets claimed out of this expansion draft. To be honest, that's who I think is going to be the guy that goes to Seattle. But you have Rasmus Sandin, who I think is only going to get better. So yes, Toronto.
I forgot to tell you, I had a good one Saturday night. Tan almost spit her beer out after Sandin blew it again. I said, I think Rasmus Sandin is just Swedish for Jake Gardner.
It's very much that's what I was getting confused with out there. And you know what? Honestly, Bogosian. Sorry, I'm forgetting another guy. Zach Bogosian was absolutely.
He played great.
Yeah, and I think he would take a little bit of a discount again next year as well. So I guess I should revamp my answer. Hyman, Freddie, Spezza, Galchenyuk, and Bogosian. I would like those guys back, and hopefully they take deals to come back. Realistically, I don't know if Freddie will. If Freddie doesn't, that leaves a big hole in net because Jack can't always stay healthy, and Hutch and Riddick are not the guys for the answer. So
I don't think Freddie was 100% healthy even in the playoffs, though.
No,
I really don't. I think there's something there, and we'll probably find out in the summer sometime. Well, it's fucking summer now.
If
But
Freddie leaves, though, man, honestly, there's a hole.
I don't think he will, because you know what? This was like a prove it season. And that this was his shot at a big contract, and he didn't play. He didn't play at all. So why not come back, sign like a 2-year, 6-point something deal?
Cheaper.
Same contract. A prove it deal. Much like the Kadri one back in the day, and then they gave him the deal, and he decided to get suspended every playoffs.
Fun fact: Toronto Maple Leafs are no longer paying for Miguel Grabowski's contract.
That's good. Are there any of the Kessel ones still there? Isn't it?
Leaf has one more year from what I see here online, so it's seems like one more year. Hopefully, I'm reading that correctly. So,
it's bad that I remember those better than like friends' birthdays.
And ultimately, going back to the overall reaction, quick, Justin. Obviously, we are hitting the hour point here on the show, and we went through a lot of discussion. If anyone wants my reaction, I'll give you a quick 1-minute brief, and Justin, I'll give you the floor before we wrap up. The core players obviously didn't get on the score sheet. Some person that is a big part of that core, Mitch Marner, was not evident on the ice at all. A lot of players that should have showed up actually really weren't great factors in the game. And I'm sorry, Wayne Simmons was somebody who didn't do as big of an impact as I felt that he should have. Jack Campbell played fantastic. I fully believe that Kerfoot, I fully believe that Nylander showed their true colors, and hopefully they can build off that. It is absolutely gut-wrenching what happened. I'm very upset that it happened. I'm not yelling on the microphone because I am so defeated. I am disgruntled, but yet I expected it, and I knew it as soon as the game six game was a loss, as much as I don't want to admit that. It was something that right now it feels like it was expected. You just say that you're fed up and you're fucking over it. That's the point that I am at with it. There's no excuse. There's no bullshit. There's inexcusable for what happened this playoffs. And seeing the thing that I mentioned with Mitch Marner golfing, yes, that pisses me off because he gets to go golf early, and and it was the bad timing, and people can pick on him, and I am a little bit here with that, but the social media harassment has to stop. I saw Doug Gilmour post an Instagram post today. Obviously, his son-in-law, Evan McGrath, was on our show. Plan to hopefully have Dougie on the show sometime as well. Hopefully that works out. He had a great Chicklets episode as well. But somebody posted a picture of him burning his jersey, a Doug Gilmour jersey. This had nothing to do with Doug Gilmour. Okay, Doug Gilmour, if anything, got high-sticked, and the Leafs should have made the Cup Finals that year against Gretzky. So we know that there's Doug Gilmour and that Leaf legacy had nothing to do with what happened. So burn your jersey, just donate it to charity, donate it to somebody else. I was upset. I threw my shirt on the ground, not an upset. I just said I took it off and I threw it off, saying I was upset. I quickly got up after and picked it up. I felt bad about it. I was upset about it. And in the middle of the game when they were losing and they were going to lose Game 7, it was a tough moment because of all the optimism this year, all the hopes that we had up and for this team. And it sucks. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. Do I believe that this core can win? Believe it or not, yes, I do. They just need the right cast around it. This year was what we thought that was, but obviously not. Will there be changes in the offseason? Yes. To the limit of what people expect? No. But I am just going to flat out say to conclude that everything Toronto did this year in the season was great to watch. This is one of the best defensive teams that we've seen. And also just the depth was fantastic. I believe they would have did the same in any other division. It would have been tough if they would have played Florida, Tampa, and Carolina, I imagine. But again, they had a very good season. This is absolutely unacceptable what they did in the playoffs. And I was more sad and mad when they lost Game 7s to Boston than I am right now. And the reason being is because of the expectations that I had, but also because I expect it, period. Not what I meant by expectations was that I thought they were going to make it. And what I mean by expect it was that I did expect failure, and that you just knew that if you get your hopes up, that they'd be put down. And they were. And this team has no excuses, no reason to lose what they have. Is unacceptable is a word that I'll use for the 6th time. Yes, I'm keeping count. Should not be tolerated. But you know what? This team, what do you change? You can't change much. They'll make adjustments. They'll be back next year. And if you're a fan like I am, obviously you're going to cheer them on and love them. And hopefully one day they actually do change the history and the outcome. But right now, all we expect is failure. And all we expect is to get our hopes up just to have them down. And right now, no words are enough words to be said about the performance that they had and what happened in that series and how it shouldn't have happened to this core. And it's unbelievable that it did. Justin, the floor for you for a minute or so, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's buckle it up and do it again next year. It is what I've been doing this for so long now. I mean, like one of the first playoffs I remember is the Doug Gilmour high stick nonsense. So, the last time we made it to the second round, John Ferguson fucking Jr. was the general manager of the team.
Philadelphia Flyers, Jeremy Roenick. 2004, I was 13 years old. I am now turning 30 in August. That is an extra lifetime later, 17 years. The Friends finale was airing that year when the Toronto Maple Leafs actually made it to the second round and made it out of they haven't made it out of the first round. They're 0-8 in the last whatever it is decade to get to that point. They're in serious clinching games.
I guess I'm not as near. It sucks, but I'm 2 days removed. Let's move on. We'll get into it again next year. Like, it sucks for me. It sucks worse for the players. But I mean, I have not won a Stanley Cup, so I don't know the intensity and how hard it is to do it. But I'm guessing it's pretty difficult, and only one team can do it every year. So, I mean, I don't entertain the trolls online. It's their team didn't win either. That's not until some team inevitably wins the cup, and then like last year everyone was Tampa fans all of a sudden. But you're like me, you're a true Leaf fan. By the time next year rolls around, you'll be back into it again. And at the bottom line, in a year like this where everything's been a fucking shit show, it was nice to just have this as a distraction. I mean, it was good. We enjoyed it. Think about what you had, Dave, and if you love it, it'll really come back to you. It'll be back. That's my words of wisdom. That's what I have right now. If we would have done this Monday night, you would have caught me just chopping wood and screaming to get the rage out of my system. But now I'm okay. I'm very zen.
And at the end of the day, hopefully one day they change. But going forward, I'll try to do whatever I can to make sure that I don't get my hopes up. But that's if everyone wants to know.
You're going to.
Yeah, and my feelings. If anyone wants to know my answer with my feelings, I'm gutted. It is true, but again, it is a sport team that we cheer for. There's a lot of good things to know in life, and just be positive, and let's keep the harassment levels down. And of course, think of all the positives with Toronto this year. Try to Rocket Richard winning, Austin Matthews, Ted Lindsay Award winning finalist with Crosby, McDavid. Tavares is recovering from his injuries greatly. Everything's there are positives with the Leafs this year that may not be seen right now, but hopefully that they are able to get back on track next year when hockey's back to normality, when they have in that tough division, and hopefully they bounce back. That's all we can hope for.
Well, I'll put this energy into cheering them on, and you can get into the stands.
There we go. Now, Justin, this is not it for Top Shelf, of course. All right. We have a lot of playoff hockey that we are going to get into. We will dive into, if possible, some second round analysis and news as it comes along within the next week. But we'll definitely have a third round preview when it gets there. We will have a round 4 preview when it gets there, and obviously a Stanley Cup reaction along with the news in between all that. Then afterwards, it's the off season that's always busy. So Top Shelf is a year-round show. Of course, our schedule is sporadic, so we appreciate our listeners who constantly follow the show and keep up with our schedule that has been sporadic. Hopefully one day it does get back to more of a normal schedule, where our normal schedule of our show is basically our ESPN show. And as of late, that has had to be rescheduled to some Wednesdays. So it's certainly been interesting this year, but we appreciate all the followers that we have. But as I mentioned, a lot of shows that we have here on the Game Sports Show with Top Shelf. We have And One, the ESPN show, the special edition, the other shows on our platform such as Hot Seat, Simply Butch, all the live broadcasts that we have, all the sporadic sports as well, presented by Thrush Creative Co., who is of course our website designer, Aaron Robinson. Fantastic. A lot of great things that the Game Sports Show has. And as I mentioned numerous times already, Top Shelf will have more upcoming editions, of course. Just because Toronto's eliminated doesn't mean that we're halting the show, of course. There's obviously a lot of news to get into from hockey and both locally and professionally as we proceed to the conclusion of the season on the professional level, then going into the off season for both local and national, then back at it when the fall comes around the corner. Justin, my friend, it's been great. It's been an interesting show. I'm sure people were expecting more of a yelling kind of background with Toronto. I think we touched everything that we needed to. I think the word of the night is unacceptable if it comes from me. From you, of course, your words of wisdom. It's certainly been a great show here. We've went 10 minutes over time. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe. Justin, thank you very much. We will be on for more Top Shelves, as I mentioned, in the pocket bonus editions. A lot more coming up, my friend. So we'll see each other soon. And also, as soon as lockdown restrictions lift, we'll get having some pints this summer. Looking forward to a good summer, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Next Friday, I think the patio at Sports Center opens up. So I think it's next Friday.
Oh, there we go.
Don't quote me on that, but we got to reserve a spot.
There you go. So we do. We got the spot there. We can get back to a little bit of some normal actions here. It's going to be great. Then obviously in September, we're hoping that we launch our expansion platform. So hopefully that all comes into play as well. Justin, thanks again. Everyone with the Game Sports Show in the background and all the fellow staff members, thank you. Listeners, again, thank you. This has been Top Shelf presented by Northern Superior Brewing Company. We're at Northern. They're Superior, and it's a Northern thing. Free local deliveries. Make sure to check them out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and Northern Superior Co., and also on their website, northernsuperior.org. Fantastic stuff. This 11 p.m. has been great. We probably could have talked until 11 p.m. tonight, but we cannot do that. We have stuff to do outside of the recording studio. So I'm going to get to that conclusion. I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.